Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. This video today is about the Federal Aviation Administration intends stricter oversight of Boeing after mid-air accident. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains this lie. You know, there's a saying by David Foster Wallace that states, "The truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you." What I'm going to show you today, I understand Scott Kirby out of United hired quality experts to look at their Boeing products. Well, I will tell you this, Scott and others, CEOs throughout the aerospace industry, if you purchased your aircraft between 2002 and present, you are in deep shit. And I'm going to show you why. Your experts, if they are involved in true quality in the aerospace industry, I'm not just talking about engineers, I'm talking about people who had their hands in the thick of the resins, the rivets, the manufacturing, the electrical processes, the avionics. Now that's what you call an expert, unless the expert was involved with ANSI ANAB in some sort of fashion. Then you'll never get an expert because they don't have any. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. All I know from dealing with them is all they know how to do is, I don't even say it, I'm a professional or try to be a professional. Although I will say this, Patrick Shanahan said when he was Deputy Secretary of Defense and he was interviewed about the F-35 program, and now he is the CEO for Spirit Aerospace Systems, he said that that program is fucked up. I've got the article, it'll be down below the video. If I don't have enough room and it can't go in, please contact me, I'll give you them. Just look up Patrick Shanahan's F-35 commentary, fucked, and it will come up. Trust me when I tell you. This video again is FAA intends stricter oversight of Boeing after mid-air accident. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains this lie, and here we go. And enjoy this. I hope it's going to be short, but it's taken 40 years to metastasize. You have ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental entity that has both federal agencies and corporations on board. In 2015, I know you hear time and time again, but these are for the people who are looking at this video for the first time. You have Randy Doherty, who is the Vice President of ANAB, the Chairman of the IF, and also the Principal on the IF 990 tax form. He had the whole ball of wax control. He handed over leadership to this communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who's been involved with our quality since 1994. He is also, at that time, the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. Let's continue a little bit further. And by the way, he is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. In 2016, Randy wrote me an email and asked if I wanted to join ANAB or IF. He says it's all voluntary. You look into that mess, it's not voluntary. Trust me when I tell you that mess. ANSI and ANAB. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. They are underwriters for the International Accreditation Form and also the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. The IAF is incorporated in Delaware, okay? They are underwriters. So what happened is in 2017, Randy was sitting on the Department of Homeland Security, where you have this Mr. Phil Matheson, who's the director of standards, appropriation, representing ANSI as an employee of DHS. This Randy was being advertised on the site, the DHS site, as a vice president for a PPS certification, a specialized certification that only ANAB, ANSI ANAB could issue. And they were, you know, and by the way, Phil Matheson was getting $262,000 as a royalty payment. So basically, they were being advertised, a private concern. That's like that having Guberman PMC or Walmart or ShopRite being advertised on the government agency. I thought it was a no-no, but I guess because they're financing one of their members, Phil Matheson, I guess they gave him carte blanche. I exposed that, they took him down. But think about this. You have a cybersecurity issue. In fact, when I was asked to join in 2016, I would not, because this guy is a cybersecurity issue. He's already mandated to take your data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. We see him over here in Wuhan, China in 2017, issue an ISO 17025 certification, 1700 flavor anyway. And this is for the BioLevel 4 lab that released the contagion, the COVID virus. We have Miss Pamela Sale here. And under deposition, she said from one laboratory to another, there are variances. And she's the Vice President of Quality for Laboratory Accreditation. You had scientists from the United States that went to Wuhan right around 2017-18. And the scientists there were complaining that they didn't have enough trained technicians. A document that was released by the CDC in May of 2009, a training document for virology labs, and the only virology lab in the whole damn document is Wuhan, China, stated one of the most important parts of a laboratory is to have trained technicians. So when Zhao Jinwu was doing the certification, or his personnel, and he was just handing them a certificate, they did not evaluate the efficacy of the actual participants in, the technicians there. That should have been part of the ISO requirement. You have to look at trained personnel. Well, they didn't. They just issued a certificate for nothing. Here is Pamela Sale, and she said that one of the issues, I'm going to say forensic, BioLevel 4, phlebotomy, any laboratory. I'm going to just say any laboratory. One of the issues is that there is no commonly agreed upon set of standards that any laboratory throughout the country and the world have to follow. Instead, there are informal guidelines that labs can choose to follow or not. So you already have inconsistencies in quality. We bring Randy up here, and he explains in detail that if you are an IAF, MRA, or MLA accreditation body, you are equivalent in accreditation to ANAB, which means an IAF MRA is a multi-regional agreement. An MLA is a multilateral agreement. So any of those countries that sit upon the IAF, ANSI and ANAB have legal responsibility backing them up, as they are the underwriter for the IAF, incorporated in Delaware, and ILAC, which is in Australia. We have Mr. Xi Jinping here, special guest, who's telling you about China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. Sitting on ANSI is, of course, ANAB. ANAB sitting on ANSI. You have the factor that ANSI has over 10 different registrars in China that can issue an ANAB accredited cert. You have the factor that ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018, and sitting on the IF between 2015 and 21, while Zhao Jinwu, the Communist National, was mandated to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, is sitting there. You have the factor, too, that guess who they're sitting by? Iran and Pakistan. I'm not telling you this about the people, I'm telling you this about the leadership. You have Khomeini down here who wants to see the destruction of the United States, kill everybody, all the rest of that. And they are paying Hamas. They are subsidizing it. And at one time, they had their certificate taken away by the IAF because of lack of payment, but they're in full ranking now. They paid it all up. So what happens here is this. You have Hamas, they're paying Hamas off. What does it say about your ANAB accredited certification? It says that, are you supporting terrorism? Maybe you are. Who knows? You also have the factor, you have 7 different registrars that are sitting on ANSI-ANAB's board. Intertech in particular is the registrar that is certifying the Spirit Aero Systems, where Patrick Shanahan, who said that the F-35 program is fucked up, sits there as the CEO. Isn't that a tender moment? They must have got that information from ANSI somewhere down the line, that word fucked up. You have the factor that they changed the verbiage from members of management, because I made comment many times on many videos. If you have organizations that are members of management, they have controlling say in the function and operation of that organization. They changed it to ANSI roster. Isn't that nice? Isn't that cute? They changed like a chameleon. This proves on this website that ANSI-ANAB are underwriters for the IAF and ILAC. IAF, the real acronym for it is They say International Accreditation Forum. We say it always fails. For ILAC, it's the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. We say, is laboratory accreditation credible? Here is the actual standard operating work order that issues and shows you without a shadow of a doubt that ANSI, ANAP are underwriters. In fact, it states it in this document. The sad state of affairs, ladies and gentlemen, maybe you don't give a shit, but in 2018, while Zhao Jinwu was watching over the IAF, they stated that it had to be an IAF accreditation body coming into the State Department. You think about cybersecurity? And by the way, during that term, we have the data. The State Department got their data taken. So we have this. This tells you right over here, it states, ANSI is an underwriter for the International Accreditation Forum. This is what an underwriter is. I'm going to hold it here. I'm not going to read it. Okay? Now we go on to the big ticket item, where you really have to laugh about the FAA. Remember what this title is? The FAA intends stricter oversight of Boeing after mid-air accident. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains this lie. And it is a lie, because now you have Boeing. Okay? Boeing. In 2002, Boeing put out a supplier protocol, an information. And it basically said, if you're ANSI ANAB accredited supplier, all you do is send us your certificate, we check off the box, send us your parts, we'll put it on the plane. That's basically what it says here. I'm not going to read it. It'll be down in the description, but that's what it says. So that this way, for 22 years, they have not had source inspection. NADCAP, special processes. NADCAP goes in to look at their prime, paint, radiology, non-destructive testing, heat treatment, welding, etc., which was designed, I think, by Boeing, and then they had some cost-cutting initiatives getting rid of inspection again, and it's going to bite them in the ass. For 22 years, they've been accepting parts into aircraft that are suspect, and I'm going to show you why they're suspect. Now we're going to show you about the FAA. And you tell me the FAA is stricter, regulatory. Well, let me just read this to you. This is from 2009. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing's commercial airplane division to self-certify its own aircraft. Boeing employs to perform tasks on behalf of the FAA that include oversight of testing and product standards, along with certification of aircraft technologies and new designs. They have issues with every aircraft that they manufacture because Boeing gave them carte blanche. Boeing gave them regulatory authority. Boeing, at that time, 2009 to present, they were FAA regulatory authority. Boeing sits on ANSI's board right over by the FAA and Department of Transportation, et cetera, and then this is the actual supplier portal that Boeing has that calls out only ANSI ANAP or international equivalent, which I showed you could be Iran and Pakistan because they're IAF MLAs. Yes, it could be. But you take a look at this. So basically, again, you give the certification to Boeing. Boeing doesn't have to send out inspection, and you just send them your parts, as long as you're AS9100 to ANAP. ANSI ANAP. What makes matters really bad here is that Boeing was caught fudging documentation. Most recently, Boeing's composite facility that manufactures the V-22 Osprey composite parts, and my background is composites, plastics, non-ferrous metals, aluminum, titanium alloys. They were caught kind of fudging documentation, and the worst thing is from 2007 to 2018, for 11 years, they were fudging documentation. $8.1 million they got fined. But the only problem is the DOJ sits on ANSI, over by Boeing, over by the FAA, over by the FBI, DOJ, DOT, FTC, and an apple in a pear tree. You also have the factor that the FAA sits right over by Boeing. You also have the National Transportation Safety Board, which people say, well, it's a separate entity. No, it comes under, from what we've discovered, it comes under the Department of Transportation. It tries to be a separate, but if you think it's chocolate, but it's not, it's probably not. And then you have the Department of Defense we want to show you as well. We're going to stop here. And as I said, the IF stands for It Always Fails. We had special guests behind us. You have Mr. Donald Kirkland, Lieutenant General, retired. Thank you for your service. Comprehensive quality review of the 737 expert. You know what he's an expert in? From what I've gathered, from what we've analyzed, putting munitions under airplane wings, F-15 or whatever the heck it is. You have David Calhoun, who in 2009 was sitting on the board of Boeing while the FAA gave them regulatory authority of Boeing. So you have a regulatory authority Boeing, FAA, and FAA a regulatory authority. And now all of a sudden, they're going to try to be strict. How could a regulatory authority watch over a regulatory authority? So that would make David Calhoun at the time, since he took over Boeing, an administrator of the FAA. Isn't that a tender moment? And then you have Patrick Shanahan, who without a doubt said, when asked when he was the Deputy Secretary of Defense, how's the F-35 program? And he says it's fucked up. Yet nothing was done by it. Nothing got done. So I'm going to leave it here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that explained to you about FAA oversight is a lie. That how can one regulator, Boeing, FAA, and the FAA regulator, they gave a private business, okay, authority as if FAA was there. You even saw it. So we're going to leave it here. Remember this too. The truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you. For those experts that these airplane CEOs are calling in and Boeing's calling in, get me in the room and I will outdo all of them. I can bring Boeing's quality back within 6 to 12 months, if given the chance with my team. It's up to you, Dave. If not, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be more disasters out there. And for those airplane companies, CEOs, who bought aircraft between 2002 and presently, I will say this. As Patrick Shanahan said about the F-35 program, I'll say to you, you're fucked. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, D-A-R-Y-L, TQRS at yahoo.com. And I say this for the people who are flying. I have to go down shortly to Florida, okay? And I don't know whether I'm going to fly, drive, or take the train. Train, you have a little bit better survival rate. I'll talk to you soon.